Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi says India's smallest chip to drive world's biggest change very soon. Announces country to start commercial production of semiconductors by the end of 2025.
World trust India. The world believes in India. And the world is ready to build the semiconductor future with India.
President Putin says Russia has never opposed Ukraine's EU membership, but reiterates that Ukraine's membership of NATO is not acceptable. And WTO chief says tariffs cause unprecedented disruption to global trade rules. Prime Minister Modi launched Semicon India 2025 in New Delhi on Tuesday. He told the industry gathering that India is building a comprehensive ecosystem, one that encompasses designing, manufacturing, packaging, and high-tech devices all within the country. India is creating a robust semiconductor ecosystem that will make it self-reliant and globally competitive. On the occasion, IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw presented the Prime Minister with India's first indigenously developed chip developed by the Indian Space Agency ISRO's Semiconductor Lab. DD India's Akshay Dongre and Tapas Bhattacharya report.
वो दिन दूर नहीं जब पूरी दुनिया कहेगी डिजाइन इन इंडिया, मेड इन इंडिया. Trusted by the world.
Semiconductors, the heart of modern technology that power healthcare, transport, communication, defense, space, and more. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated Semicon India 2025 at Yashobhoomi in Delhi, a major push to make India a global semiconductor hub.
The world trusts India. The world believes in India. And the world is ready to build the semiconductor future with India.
Prime Minister announced that India's first indigenous semiconductor chip will hit the market by the end of 2025. He said the government is working on mission mode to grow this sector.
एक तरफ जब दुनिया भर की इकोनॉमी में चिंताएं हैं, आर्थिक स्वार्थ से पैदा हुई चुनौतियां हैं, उस माहौल में भारत ने 7.8% की ग्रोथ हासिल करके दिखाई है. ग्रोथ की यही दिशा है तो भारत को थर्ड लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी बनाने की तरफ तेजी से बढ़ना पक्का हो चुका है.
6 chip-making units are already under construction and 4 more approved, attracting investments of over 1.6 lakh crore rupees across 6 states. Prime Minister Modi linked the effort to the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, underlining the need for self-reliance in critical minerals and advanced technologies.
हमारा सेमीकंडक्टर मिशन सिर्फ एक फैब या एक चिप निर्माण तक सीमित नहीं है. हम एक ऐसा सेमीकंडक्टर इकोसिस्टम बना रहे हैं जो भारत को आत्मनिर्भर और ग्लोबली कॉम्पिटिटिव बनाए। भारत दुनिया की मोस्ट एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजीज के साथ इस क्षेत्र में आगे बढ़ रहा है। जो इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं उनको भारत में बनी चिप से नई पावर मिले, ये हमारा फोकस है।
With more than 20,000 participants, 2,500 delegates from 48 countries, and over 350 global exhibitors, Semicon India 2025 is being seen as India's big leap into the global semiconductor race. With Akshay Dongre, Taposh Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
Prime Minister Modi said that India will hold a significant share in the global semiconductor market, which is expected to surpass $1 trillion in the coming years. DD India's Raghav Kumar Jha looks at the semiconductor ecosystem in India, which can prove to be a catalyst in making the nation self-reliant and globally competitive in this sector.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday received India's first indigenous semiconductor chip at the inauguration of Semicon India 2025 in New Delhi. In his inaugural address, Prime Minister said the global semiconductor market is projected to cross $1 trillion in the coming years. And with the speed at which India is advancing, the country will secure a significant share of this market.
आज सेमीकंडक्टर्स का ग्लोबल मार्केट $600 बिलियन तक पहुंच रहा है और अगले कुछ साल में ये $1 ट्रिलियन को भी पार कर जाएगा। और मुझे विश्वास है भारत जिस तेजी से सेमीकंडक्टर सेक्टर में आगे बढ़ रहा है, इस $1 ट्रिलियन मार्केट शेयर में एक अहम हिस्सा भारत का रहने वाला है।
Let us have a quick look at the semiconductor program in India and its share in the global market. Semicon India program was launched in the country in 2021. By 2023, India's first semiconductor plant had been approved. In 2024, several other plants received approval, and in 2025, 5 additional projects were cleared. Now India has 10 approved semiconductor projects across 6 states involving an investment of over $18 billion. Global semiconductor market has already reached $600 billion, and in the coming years, it is expected to surpass $1 trillion. India contributes 20% of the world's semiconductor design talent. As per industry estimates, the size of the Indian semiconductor market in 24-25 was $45 to $50 billion. The market in India is expected to reach $100 to $110 billion by 2030. Industry leaders have hailed India's growing role and said that India is laying the foundation of a resilient semiconductor ecosystem.
With the progress India have made in the last few years, entering semiconductor and becoming a strong country for semiconductor manufacturing makes a lot of sense.
So this is excellent steps. Progress is being made, evidence is seen, and now the future is for us to take.
Customers are here in India. We want to be able to support them, to support the growth trajectory that we have here in India, the Modi's law of exponential growth. We want to be here to be able to support that.
The speed with which India is moving ahead in this sector, developing semiconductor parks across the country with access to a skilled worker pool. The day seems not far away when, in the words of Prime Minister Modi, the world will say, designed in India, made in India, and trusted by the world. Raghav Kumar Jha reports for DD India.
And for his part, Electronics and Information Technology Minister Ashwini Vaishnav said at the semiconductor industry event that the world now looks at India with confidence.
Just a few years ago, we met for the first time to make a new beginning. Driven by our Prime Minister's far-sighted vision, we launched the India Semiconductor Mission. We collected together a team of globally renowned industry leaders, and we started the new journey with laser-sharp focus on execution. And here we are today. In a short span of 3.5 years, we have the world looking at India with confidence. Today, construction of 5 semiconductor units is going on at a rapid pace. Pilot line of 1 unit is completed, and we just presented the first Made in India chip to Honorable Prime Minister.
The 2025 SCO summit, which concluded at Tianjin in China, made headlines all over the world. French media, including Le Monde and France 24, highlighted how India, China and Russia are strengthening their ties, especially after recent US tariffs. DD India's Rohini Gosavi has more from Paris.
This year's SCO summit ended with significant output, and it has drawn major attention of global media. France's prominent newspaper Le Monde and news channels like France 24 have closely reported on summit. They highlighted that Chinese President Xi Jinping hosted more than 20 world leaders, including Russian President Vladimir Putin and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. According to French media, Xi Jinping criticized the Cold War mentality of the United States and its allies, positioning China at the center of a new anti-Western world order. French coverage emphasizes that the summit is not just about talks. It is also about shaping global influence, regional security and economic cooperation. French media also focused on the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's participation in the summit. French media highlighted that leaders discussed economic aid, infrastructure projects, technology cooperation and ways to increase global influence. Analysts in French media point out that the SCO is becoming a forum for emerging powers to challenge Western dominance. At the same time, India continues to maintain strong ties with Russia. They say that coordination between India, China and Russia could reshape the global balance of power. French media also highlighted that the relationships between these 3 countries are now crucial for the international diplomacy. This is Rohini Gosavi in Paris for DD India.
So clearly, Prime Minister Modi's visit to China has dominated the world press. In Indonesia, media reports said that Prime Minister Modi's meeting with President Putin of Russia and President Xi of China sent a strong geopolitical signal that a new bloc is taking shape in Asia to counterbalance Western dominance. DD India's Chandni Vasandani has more from Jakarta.
So in local news coverage here in Indonesia, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to China is being framed as more than just diplomacy. It is being seen as a turning point in global geopolitics. Major news outlets are reporting that Beijing is really showcasing its strengthened relationship with Russia and India. Indonesian media are saying this emerging alignment sends a strong geopolitical signal that a new bloc is taking shape in Asia to counterbalance Western dominance. They are noting that closer cooperation between New Delhi and Beijing could even pave the way for greater peace and stability in a relationship that has been historically defined by rivalry and tensions. Another theme in local coverage is America's recent imposition of higher tariffs on Indian goods. They suggest this economic pressure may have had the effect of drawing India and China closer together, as both countries seek common ground in resisting Western trade measures. At the summit itself, India highlighted security, opportunity and connectivity as priorities for India, while Xi highlighted the need for a stronger global south. So the narrative here is that there could be a new power axis emerging. This is Chandni Vasandani in Jakarta for DD India.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. President Xi of China hosts Russia's President Putin for more talks, reaffirms ties in the face of US challenges. The judges of Mexico's top court sworn in after being elected through popular vote. and demonstrations continue across Indonesia. Protesters turn up in numbers.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Russia's President Vladimir Putin said on Tuesday that Moscow had never opposed Ukraine's potential membership of the European Union. Speaking alongside Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico in China, Putin said it was possible to find a consensus on ensuring the security of both Russia and Ukraine. He said Ukraine's security was discussed at the 15th August summit along with US President Donald Trump in the US state of Alaska.
As for Ukraine's EU membership, we have never objected to this. As for NATO, there is another issue. The point is the security of Russian Federation not only today or in mid-term time span. It is about long-term outlook. Our position here is well known. We consider it is unacceptable for us.
A deal between Russia and China was signed after Russia agreed to supply additional volumes of natural gas to China. Also signed was a memorandum to build the Power of Siberia 2 pipeline. The cost of the gas project is being worked out. The announcement comes after President Putin, who is currently in China, met President Xi in Beijing. Putin said that the Russia-China relations are at an unprecedented level. Putin will attend a military parade on Wednesday to mark the 80th anniversary of Japan's surrender at the end of the Second World War.
Our close communication reflects the strategic nature of Russian-Chinese relations, which are at an unprecedentedly high level.
China is willing to work with Russia to support each other's revitalization and development, steadily defend international justice and fairness, and promote and build a more fair and equitable global governance system.
China's President Xi Jinping is set to host the country's largest ever military parade on Wednesday. The 3rd September Victory Day parade marks 80 years since Japan's defeat in World War II and will see over 20 world leaders in attendance, including Russia's Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un. The grand display of military might and diplomatic outreach underscores China's bid to project power on the global stage, even as questions mount over US role in international affairs. A Brazil court on Tuesday began hearing the closing arguments in a landmark trial of former President Jair Bolsonaro. The former president is accused of plotting to remain in power after losing the 2022 election. During the trial, one of the judges said that Bolsonaro aimed for a real dictatorship when he launched his alleged uprising to try and retain power after losing the 2022 election to Lula da Silva. The trial is expected to conclude by the 12th of September. Meanwhile, Bolsonaro supporters continued demonstrations outside his residence on Tuesday as tensions ran high. The family of the former president greeted the supporters. If convicted, Bolsonaro and 7 main co-defendants may serve up to 40 years in prison. The judges of Mexico's top court took office on Tuesday after being elected in a first June vote, making Mexico the only country in the world where judges at all levels are chosen by popular vote. Earlier in the day, the justices received the indigenous staff of command, a symbol of the communitarian authority they now hold. The newly elected president of the top court pledged to root out corruption and nepotism within the judiciary. The ceremony was disrupted by opposition lawmakers who challenged the legitimacy of the selection process. Tensions are spiraling in Indonesia. Police fired tear gas at student protesters in the city of Bandung as unrest spread beyond the capital. The clashes broke out near the Islamic University of Bandung and Pasundan University, about 140 kilometers from Jakarta. The protests began at the capital against government spending and lawmakers' perks, but have since snowballed nationwide. Violence escalated after a police vehicle fatally struck a motorcycle taxi driver, sparking riots and looting that left millions of dollars in damage. Meanwhile, President Prabowo Subianto on Monday visited injured police officers and civilians at Jakarta's Bayangkara Police Hospital. As Afghanistan continues to struggle with the havoc wreaked by the Sunday night's earthquake measuring 6.2 in the eastern part of the country, fresh tremors measuring around 5.5 on the Richter scale struck southeastern Afghanistan on Tuesday evening local time. India and a few nations have sent aid, but global response remains limited amid political and logistical hurdles.
The death toll from the powerful earthquake that struck eastern Afghanistan late Sunday has crossed 1,411 with over 3,000 injured, mostly in Kunar province.
It was 12 o'clock at night when the earthquake struck. The earthquake was very strong. I have nothing left. Everything was destroyed. It's still shaking now. I am waiting for help from God, the Islamic Emirate and the international community because I have lost everything and I have nothing left.
The quake devastated remote mountainous villages near the Pakistan border, with rescue efforts still ongoing. Blocked roads and a lack of equipment are severely hampering relief operations.
We provide basic services and it will take several days to transport and bury the martyrs. But the rehabilitation of these people and the reconstruction of their homes is not within the capacity of the Islamic Emirates alone. In this regard, the international community, the people, and everyone must participate.
Thousands remain displaced, and entire mud and stone homes have been reduced to rubble. Survivors, many recently returned from Iran and Pakistan, are using their bare hands to help in rescue efforts. Rescue operations remain challenging due to blocked roads, and response teams in the affected mountainous regions are relying on helicopters. Numerous landslides and rockfalls have severely limited access.
800 plus individuals have sadly perished, and we are looking at over 2,000 injured, and the numbers are definitely going to increase as far as we can see. Also remembering that in 22 and in 23, we had devastating earthquakes in Afghanistan. So looking at the stats, looking at the remoteness and the topography, which is extremely challenging and remote, we think potentially the impacted individuals could go up to almost into the hundreds of thousands.
India was among the first to respond, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressing condolences and offering humanitarian aid. As part of its neighborhood first policy, India quickly sent 1,000 family tents to Kabul and 15 tons of food supplies to the hard-hit Kunar province. However, global response has been limited and cautious due to political and logistical challenges. Britain has pledged $1.35 million in aid via UN agencies and the Red Cross bypassing the Taliban, while UAE has dispatched a rescue team and emergency supplies. Afghanistan, frequently hit by earthquakes, continues to face deepening humanitarian challenges after decades of conflict and a sharp decline in international aid. In October 2023, Herat province was devastated by a 6.3 magnitude quake that killed over 1,500 people and destroyed more than 63,000 homes. A 5.9 magnitude quake in June 2022 in Paktika left over 1,000 dead and tens of thousands homeless. Bureau Report, DD India.
Incessant rainfall continues to lash northern India, prompting the India Meteorological Department to issue red alerts for parts of Punjab and Haryana and orange alerts for Delhi and Uttarakhand. Rising river levels triggered evacuation advisories in flood-prone areas, including Kapurthala in Punjab and low-lying parts of Delhi. Delhi recorded over 1,000 millimeters of rainfall this season, its wettest August since 2010. While Gurugram shifted schools online and urged officers to allow work from home because of waterlogging. In Uttarakhand, 273% excess rainfall blocked more than 300 roads and caused landslides. Rescue operations are ongoing across affected states, with emergency personnel being deployed. The India Meteorological Department forecasts continued heavy rain in several northern states, urging caution as the monsoon persists. At the Confederation of Indian Industries' 20th Global Sustainability Summit in New Delhi, Environment Minister Bhupender Yadav and Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal described India's journey towards resilient, regenerative and responsible growth. The theme of the summit was redrawing the contours of a sustainable world. More in the next report by DD India's Ayushi Bhatnagar.
With an objective to reimagine India's sustainability paradigm through industry-led, inclusive and innovation-driven approaches, Confederation of Indian Industry organized 28th Sustainability Summit in Delhi, themed Redrawing the Contour of a Sustainable World. Various leaders, policymakers, sustainability experts and innovators gathered to chart a forward-looking roadmap positioning Indian industry as a global leader. Addressing global delegates in New Delhi, the Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Bhupender Yadav, described India's journey towards resilient, regenerative and responsible growth. The minister underlined that India's model of development is deeply rooted in balancing economic progress with ecological stewardship. Environment Minister further underlined three major initiatives: the Environment Audit Rules 2025, the Green Credit Program and the National Critical Mineral Mission 2025, and highlighted their roles in India's climate action.
Inform you that recently, drawing motivation from leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change issued very critical notifications with the aim of building a sustainable future. Countries around the world must challenge the conventional growth models, realign development priorities, and make sustainability central to policy frameworks. India's policy roadmap and growth model exemplifies how nations can harmonize economic growth with sustainability to cultivate resilient, low-carbon development pathways.
Minister for Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal, addressing the gathering, said that India is expanding trade ties across the globe, mentioning that India is in dialogue with the United States for a bilateral trade agreement.
India will continue to have more and more relations with countries around the world, strengthen our friendships with all countries as we continue to have newer trading arrangements with the European Union, with Chile, Peru, New Zealand, a second tranche of Australia and Oman. All of these are FTAs on the anvil. We already completed Mauritius, Australia's first tranche, the four-nation EFTA bloc, UK, UAE. Lots have happened, lots more to go. But the US, we are in dialogue with them for a bilateral trade agreement.
As the world stands at a critical inflection point where crises are challenging traditional models of growth and development, India has the potential to lead a global sustainability narrative, one that is grounded in resilience, regeneration of natural systems, and responsibility across stakeholders. Ayushi Bhatnagar's report for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. A discussion on Semicon India 2025, which opens in New Delhi.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome to Mahabalipuram, a coastal town full of delight, where history,
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Going back to the top story we are tracking here on DD India, Prime Minister Modi inaugurates Semicon India 2025 in New Delhi. It's a semiconductor industry event. The Prime Minister says the world trusts India, believes in India, and that the world is ready to build a semiconductor future with India. Describing the semiconductor as a digital diamond, he says India's smallest chip will soon drive the world's biggest change. Joining us is Mr. S. Krishnan. He is the Secretary of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Mr. Krishnan, welcome to DD India News Hour. Now, before we talk about the Made in India chip, would you like to tell our viewers about Semicon India to begin with?
Semicon India, this is the second edition of Semicon being held in India. Semicon are international conferences on semiconductors held in different parts of the world. There are about 8 or 9 locations across the world they are currently being held. Semicon West is held in the United States. There's Semicon Europa, there's Semicon China, there's Semicon Japan, Taiwan, Southeast Asia, and so on. It started being held in India for the first time since 2024, and this is the second edition being held in India. And in 2024, even in the first year that it was held, we were told by the authorities of SEMI, who hold these conferences across the world, that India's SEMI was about 4 times bigger than any other country where a similar conference was held for the first time. And this year, it is twice as big as last year's event held in Noida. We had about 350 exhibitors participating. We had close to about 2,500 delegates from about 48 countries. About 30 companies from about 30 countries were represented in the event. We had 6 country pavilions. So all in all, it's been an event which has sparked a lot of enthusiasm. And many leading CEOs from the semiconductor world from all over the globe are joining us for this event.
And now to the question that the whole of India and the world wants to know about, the first ever Made in India chip and its features, Mr. Krishnan.
This is the first chip which has been commercially made in India. I should emphasize that, because if you look at the first ever made in India chip, we do have a small facility which produces chips for strategic purposes, so this is not one of those. But commercially manufactured chip entirely in India was brought out in the CG Power plant, CG Power's semiconductor plant based in Sanand in Gujarat, in their pilot facility. So that would be the first chip which has come out, which one of which the minister today presented to the Prime Minister as part of a memento, which contained many other chips which have been designed by Indian students under the ministry's Chips to Startup program. And so that was showcasing what India has done in the area of chip manufacture.
Could you also throw some light on how many semiconductor design or fabrication units or plants are there in India today? Where are they located, and are they all in the private domain, the private sector?
I think there are two parts to this. One part to this is the semiconductor manufacturing facilities. Under the India Semiconductor Mission, which was approved in December of 2021 and then really came on stream during 2022 2022 calendar year, with the approval of the first unit to be established by Micron, which is an American chip maker for, and especially they do packaging. So they were to establish the first ATMP plant, again in Sanand in Gujarat. The construction of that plant is proceeding apace, and the main unit will commence production later this year. Before the end of this year, they should be commencing production at that plant. Installation of equipment and so on is going on currently. That should commence production. The Tatas had two projects approved. One is the establishment of a fab that is at Dholera in Gujarat, and the other, and that would be India's first fab, because that is where the wafers are etched, and that is fundamental to the entire semiconductor industry. And they're also setting up another ATMP plant in Assam. Then we have CG Power. I spoke about CG Power, which is again in Sanand, Gujarat, and Keynes, which is also in Sanand, Gujarat. Then we have HCL Foxconn setting up a plant which is at Noida, not far from here in Delhi. And we have two more plants coming up in Orissa of 6M, which is a compound semiconductor fab and packaging unit, and a 3D glass unit which is coming up again in Orissa. And we have one plant ASIP which is coming up in Andhra Pradesh, and a plant by CDIL, which is in some ways India's oldest semiconductor packaging plant, that is at Mohali in Punjab.
For the benefit of viewers joining us from around the world, Mr. Krishnan, would you like to talk a bit, if you will, about the Indian government's policies and incentives for the industry? Say, for instance, about production-linked incentives for end-to-end capabilities, design-linked incentive scheme, and the Chips to Startup program.
That's right. The main and most ambitious industrial policy scheme, which in my experience has ever been taken up, is the India Semiconductor Mission's assistance for establishing fabs and ATMPs in India. We pay an incentive amount, a subsidy amount of 50% of the cost of the plant, and this is paid on a pari passu basis. In addition to the 50% which is paid by the Government of India, state governments also contribute and add to that. And the total budget which was allocated for the India Semiconductor Mission Phase 1 was 76,000 crore, and at that time it was almost equivalent to about 10 billion US dollars. And currently I'm happy to inform your viewers that the entire amount practically has been committed for various semiconductor plants which are coming up in the first phase, and all 10 of them are coming up in the private sector. In addition, we do two other things under the semiconductor mission. One is the modernization of the semiconductor laboratory in Mohali, which is a government-run, government-owned unit, and which was set up in the 70s and requires modernization at this point. And the second part is the design-linked incentive scheme, which is combined with the Chips to Startup scheme. Under the Chips to Startup program, we provide what are called EDA tools. These are design tools, software tools, which are essential for anybody to design a chip, a semiconductor chip. These tools are usually, and the program that we have, Chips to Startup, actually enables more than about 85,000 students to use these tools. And we have currently about 350 institutions, about 278 academic institutions, and about 72 startups which use these EDA tools. And they have been used in 2025 itself for almost 13 million hours. So, which makes it probably the largest single program in the world in which EDA tools are provided in a centralized fashion. And this has actually built the base of the semiconductor design human resource system in the country. Today, India has 20% of the entire semiconductor design engineers in the world. So 1 in 5 semiconductor design engineers are based out of India currently, and they design for a number of international companies. Practically every major international chip design company operates with an office in India, with a design office in India. In addition, we also have the design-linked incentive scheme, which basically supports startups and small and medium industries to actually establish a semiconductor design facility. As I mentioned, we do a lot of design for a number of international companies, but very little of that design is retained as intellectual property in India. So it is to encourage the creation of more Indian intellectual property in the semiconductor space that the design-linked incentive scheme was commenced. We provide grants to these companies which create such intellectual property in India and retain it within the country. So about 23 companies, 23 startups have been assisted under the design-linked incentive program already.
And we take a global perspective, Mr. Krishnan. What can you tell our viewers about India's international cooperation in semiconductor design and manufacturing? We are told India is partnering with Taiwan, for instance, or Singapore, Japan, and the US. So how many countries would we be partnering with?
You see, for instance, if you, as I mentioned earlier, today's Semicon, we had attendance of delegates from about 43 countries. We had 30 countries who had various industrial units which were represented there, and we had 6 country pavilions. So semiconductors are a global value chain, and it requires collaboration across nations to make it happen. So we have an MOU with, it is called Trust, with the United States to collaborate in the area of semiconductors specifically, amongst other advanced technology areas. We have one with the European Union, we have one with Germany, we have one with the Netherlands, we have one with Japan, one with Singapore. So we have with a number of countries these agreements to cooperate on skilling, to cooperate on developing technologies and design and so on. In addition to these MOUs, we also have a number of other countries from where companies are speaking to us on what can happen in the semiconductor space. So it is a matter of actually collaborating across the world in terms of how we are able to move forward in the semiconductor space, and that was apparent in Semicon 2's inauguration today, where CEOs of a number of international companies were on stage and spoke about their plans in India, their collaboration with India, and how they can move forward.
And finally, Mr. Krishnan, how would you describe India's journey from back-end operations to becoming a full-stack semiconductor nation. India, we are told, is aiming to become a semiconductor hub with a comprehensive ecosystem, one that encompasses designing, manufacturing, packaging, and high-tech devices.
As I already mentioned to you, we spoke about the design-linked incentive scheme, and we spoke about the India Semiconductor Mission Phase 1, under which a number of companies are setting up fabs and ATMPs and other facilities. Now, this by itself is not a full-scale provision. Therefore, the Prime Minister today mentioned that the India Semiconductor Mission Phase 2 is something that we are working on. And in the course of Phase 2, we'll focus not just on more fabs and ATMPs, of which we definitely need more, but in addition to that, we are looking at the entire ecosystem. So we are going to look at incentivizing semiconductor equipment manufacturing companies, materials manufacturing companies, chemicals manufacturing companies, gases, companies which make gases, and testing companies. So there's a whole range of other companies which work around these major fabs and ATMPs. So we would like to bring all of them in. And in addition, we would also like to see how we can further deepen the ecosystem for semiconductor design, because currently it is limited to startups and MSMEs. So we would like to expand that to more domestic companies and more companies which are willing to retain their IP in India, intellectual property for that in India, and also make sure that there is an opening for risk capital for such companies. In fact, today one of the key announcements which was made by a consortium of funds, private equity and venture capital funds, was the establishment of a global alliance to support deep tech in India. And that is already, it has people who are agreeing to put together at least $1 billion and possibly more coming. So in that sense, I think we are looking to see that we have a full-fledged semiconductor ecosystem in the country end to end.
Mr. Krishnan, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts with our viewers in India and around the world. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Pleasure. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Gold races to all-time high on US rate cut prospects. And in cricket, Australia's Mitchell Starc retires from T20Is.
This week on Defence Dynamics, India's tank force takes on the drone challenge. How counter unmanned aerial systems are rewriting armoured warfare. A major milestone in Indian air power, why the induction of Teasers Mark II matters. And on the robotics front, what is Bhairav's robotics Rakshak and why it could redefine battlefield autonomy. This Wednesday at 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Now, going back to our story on India's humanitarian assistance to Afghanistan in the wake of the earthquake, India, which has been the first responder to provide relief and aid, has stepped up the emergency supplies. In a post on X, India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar said that India has already dispatched 21 tons of relief materials, including blankets, tents, hygiene kits, water storage tanks, generators, kitchen utensils, portable water purifiers, sleeping bags, essential medicines, wheelchairs, hand sanitizers, water purification tablets, ORS solutions and medical consumables were airlifted today. Sri Lanka's President Anurag Kumara Dissanayake visited Kachativu Island during his visit to the northern region of the island on Monday. He told a gathering there that his government remains committed to safeguarding Sri Lanka's territorial integrity and it will not compromise on sovereignty. He visited the St. Anthony's Shrine at Kachativu. He also inaugurated a series of development programs in the northern province. Coinciding with World Coconut Day, he launched a Northern Coconut Triangle project in Pudukkudiripu. It targets 16,000 acres of coconut cultivation in the north by 2025, with an expansion to 50,000 acres by 2027. The 14th edition of the India-Thailand joint military exercise, codenamed Maitri 14, began with a grand opening ceremony in the northeastern Indian state of Meghalaya on Tuesday. The bilateral exercise is a part of enhancing cooperation, interoperability and mutual understanding between the Indian Army and the Royal Thai Army. In business news, Apple opened its first store in southern India on Tuesday. Apple Hebbal in Bengaluru is the country's third store after Mumbai and New Delhi. Amid the biggest disruption to the international trading system in the past 80 years, the Director General of the World Trade Organization has said that the share of global trade done on WTO terms has fallen to 72% and could fall further. Take a listen.
I think there's absolutely no doubt that we're experiencing the largest disruption to global trade rules, unprecedented in the past 80 years. So it's not surprising that some would question, the global trading system and its stability and predictability and all that, and even some call for, talk about demise and so on and so forth. Although I must share with you the demise of the WTO has been predicted many times since the 1980s. It is true that this 72% is down from 80% pre-tariffs at the beginning of the year, so there has been some impact. But we still find it remarkable that almost three-quarters of global goods trade is still taking place on WTO terms.
Wall Street's main indices opened lower on Tuesday as investors returning from a long holiday weekend worried about the legality of U.S. President Trump's tariffs and awaited crucial economic reports. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 257.1 points. The S&P 500 fell 58.7 points, while the Nasdaq Composite dropped 369 points. Meanwhile, global stocks fell and long-dated bond yields in Europe hit multi-year highs as investors grew increasingly worried about the state of finances in countries around the world, even as the dollar gained and gold touched a record high. Asian markets suffered a sharp September back-to-school shock. The Japanese yen tumbled after a close aide to Prime Minister Ishiba Shigeru said on Tuesday that he would resign from his post. And gold rose to a record high of 3,508.5 on Tuesday as investors awaited economic data this week that could reinforce expectations of a U.S. central bank rate cut in September. Markets widely expect the U.S. central bank to lower interest rates later this month, pricing in an 89% chance of a 25 basis point cut. But data this week will help investors gauge whether the central bank could perhaps lean towards a jumbo cut. India remained the largest source of tourists to Sri Lanka in August, with 46,473 Indian visitors recorded during the month. According to the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, overall arrivals in August stood at 198,235, marking a 20.4% increase compared to the same month last year, when 164,609 tourists visited the island. Between January and August 2025, Sri Lanka welcomed 1.5 million tourists in total. The strong inflow from India highlights the country's position as a key market driving Sri Lanka's tourism growth and economic recovery. And now the sports news and updates from the US Open's round of 16. Reigning men's champion Yannick Sinner ousted Alexander Bublik 6-1, 6-1, 6-1 in just 81 minutes to sail into the quarterfinals. Bublik, the only player to beat Sinner this season, aside from Carlos Alcaraz, had not dropped serve all tournament, but was broken 8 times by the world number 1. Sinner bids to become the first man to defend the US Open since Roger Federer won the last of his 5 successive titles in 2008. In another men's singles match, Alex de Minaur sealed a quarterfinal spot with an easy win over Swiss qualifier Leandro Redi. The informed de Minaur will look out for a change in fortunes as he has never made it past the last 8 stage. He'll face Felix Auger-Aliassime in the quarterfinals. Naomi Osaka produced a stunning performance to eliminate home favourite Coco Gauff in the last 16 stages. The Japanese star parred past third seed Gauff 6-3, 6-2 in a highly anticipated showdown in New York City. Osaka will play 11th seed Carolina Muchova in Wednesday's quarterfinals. Iga Swiatek brushed off Ekaterina Alexandrova in straight sets to extend a Grand Slam winning streak to 11 matches. Swiatek has reached the last 8 or better at all 4 majors in a season for the first time, and she's chasing her 7th Grand Slam. India's Yuki Bhambri and his Kiwi partner Michael Venus will be in action in the 3rd round of the men's doubles at the US Open. The India-New Zealand duo beat Gonzalo Escobar from Ecuador and Mexico's Miguel Reyes Varela in the 2nd round. This marks the 3rd time when Venus has reached the 3rd round of the US Open, having previously got this far in 2014 and 2022. Venus has never gone beyond the 3rd round in New York before, but he will achieve that feat if he and Bhambri can beat the German duo of Kevin Kreitz and Tim Puitz in the round of 16 on Tuesday. Australia's ace fast bowler Mitchell Starc has announced his retirement from T20 internationals in order to prioritise test matches and the 2027 One-Day Internationals World Cup. Starc played 65 T20Is and was part of Australian side that won the 2021 T20 World Cup. Starc's 79 wickets currently puts him as 2nd best for Australia. In his farewell message, Starc said he enjoyed playing T20s for Australia, but Test cricket is his highest priority. From mid-2026, Australia face a hectic run in Test cricket, including 3 away series, 1 home series, and then an away Ashes in mid-2027. The 2027 World Cup, which will be held in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Namibia, will start in October. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can get the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code that is now on your screen to download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.